When you were younger, did you have any favorite films that you look back on now and think to them to be childish? And do you have any favorite films from your youth that remain up there? Thank you for being awesome. Keep up the great work down, Dan Howell. Good question, Dan.
Yeah.
As you may not know, this gave Dan some agita trying to figure this out.
Click.
So I'll go to Jeff first.
Click.
Jeff, what would you say are movies that maybe don't hold up that you loved as a child?
You know, thinking about this, it's interesting. I've often said that my trifecta of 3 favorite movies has remained the same for many years, and maybe it deserves revisiting, but it has always been Star Wars, Annie Hall, and My Dinner with Andre. And certainly Star Wars is there principally because it was that movie that I loved as a kid, and it will always be near and dear to my heart. So, in a sense, I mean, it gets that spot, and I can't ever shake it from that spot, even though it may end up being a little bit childish, but it's a love that I have. And of course, there's tons of movies when you're a kid that you love, but I never really made that list.
Yeah.
Until
you didn't have a favorite movie that you watched all the time when you were a kid?
I mean,
was your favorite
when I was a real little kid, I watched
12.
I watched Ghostbusters over and over and over again. I watched Star Wars over and over again. There were these animated Shogun Warriors movies, I think I've mentioned on the show before, that I used to watch over and over and over. Vanguard Ace and Starvengers, and there's so many of them. But
Interesting. Daniel, Plix?
Dan Plick.
I'm trying to think of what that L was, but I can say definitively that there was a years of my life devoted to renting over and over and over again Pirates of the Penzance, the Kevin Kline version, and Angela Lansbury.
Amazing.
I mean, my mom, West Coast Video,
P of Plick.
Yeah.
L.
Why?
Legend?
I know. I don't. Well, is that my L? Legend. Now that you bring that up, I mean, Legend. You guys don't know how devoted I was to Legend. I wrote.
Legend.
It must be Legend because I actually did revisit that. Listen, Legend, guys. I wrote a sequel to it as an 11-year-old kid. And I read it recently. It's not that good. I read it recently. It's basically Legend. Like, I thought I was writing. It's what most sequels are. But I was addicted to Legend. Anyway, there was another year of my life devoted to Young Guns 2.
Wow.
I was a huge Emilio Estevez fan. Huge.
As were we all.
It was PG-13. The first one was R, so I'd only ever seen the second one. And I actually think it was the first Western I've ever seen.
Interesting.
So it was all very, and it was different than like watching my dad watch old John Wayne movies that were very clean, and this was the first very gruff and dirty and whatever, and that John Bon Jovi song. But the one movie that I loved as a kid, as a very young kid, it still holds true today, number K, the letter K, Karate Kid.
Yeah. I loved that movie too.
Yeah.
And we all did.
It's kind of a perfect movie in my book, so there you have it.
Alex?
Wax on, my friend. Yeah, I mean, the hard thing is that, it's like when I was a kid, the movies that I really loved, Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I enjoyed Karate Kid. It was a little bit later for me, but I enjoyed Karate Kid. And it's hard because those movies do hold up.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, I just saw Raiders of the Lost Ark again, and it's like, good God, man, that movie made back then was like...
Timeless.
Timeless. Thank you.
It's a classic. That's what you call a classic.
It's a classic. It's a classic. Now, that said, there are some movies that I remember loving as a kid that I don't know,
Like what?
Remo Williams.
Oh, I still love that movie.
There's something cool about that movie,
No.
but it's weird.
But the thing that's cool about it is, I remember when this was like epic.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to run over cement.
Oh
with bare
man,
feet.
come on!
And the bottom line
diving into a pile of sand on the side and coming out the top.
Yes,
epic.
Exactly. When I was 12. Now I'm like, I see the edges.
Weekly.
I see the edges. Obviously, Last Dragon is another one where you I see it again, and it just doesn't, Unfortunately, I think Last Starfighter is that way, if for no other reason than the CG.
I think just the special effects. There's a lot to that movie that's
I agree, but holds up like Return of the Jedi or Raiders of the Lost Ark. Not so much. Yeah. So there are definitely those movies out there that you're gonna, maybe Harold and Kumar will be that movie for you. I haven't seen that movie, so I'm sort of just blowing smoke.
There's something to that.
But anyway,